So great, as usual, sitting in front of the laptop. It is 29th of May 2025, and just watching Neil deGrasse Tyson Star Talk. I mean, his friend. I mean, I'm not really good at names, but two really funny, intelligent people talking about physics. I mean, you can have better than this. And then they had a mathematician in house, which is good. I mean, with 7 million followers. I mean, imagine that. Absolutely. I mean, a lot of people are fascinated with mathematics, and mathematics is a great subject. And then the cue was that some kind of that the mathematician would say that the maths problem is that I mean, how would you really understand through mathematics uh, non-linear flow of fluid? I mean, happening, and and then of course you want to do mathematics because you want to control it, understand it, to then use it. I mean, it's not that whenever you want to use mathematics, measure things, the properties. I mean, what is fluid? I mean, you need a slope for fluid to flow. I mean, that's why rivers flow through glaciers. But then, quite interestingly, seas, I mean, the ocean is something which is of an interesting kind of random waves coming out of the ocean. I mean, how should we really measure that mathematically? But then, most interestingly, in my recent vlog, I would talk about dark matter and finding paths, patterns through it. That the stability of the universe. I mean, this is proven is because of the dark matter. And absolutely, I then draw the conclusion that this the life on Earth. I mean, the solar system, and especially I mean, how you see such a diverse life is kind of a combination, an outcome of the stability that dark matter provides to galaxies, formation of the galaxies in the star systems. And then, to me, why would a mathematician would really try to find complex mathematics to the randomness? I mean, again, this the example of ocean is really great, which is explained through waves. I mean, do rivers cause waves? Yeah, of course, unidirectional waves might be, but ocean is something which is magnificent, amazing. And without a starry night, a dark ocean, I resemble it with dark matter. I mean, water is such a key part to really provide stability to Mother Earth. I mean, this planet. Water is really necessary for life on land and in ocean. But then, can we really understand? A few years ago, in 2000, when I started writing in 2017, I would say that human cognition understand a lot of physics, mathematics, and a lot of science. And I then gave example through how language would really be created. I mean, it's an amazing world to then help a mathematician. Yes, finding a path, that's what it is. I mean, ocean, can you find a path through ocean? I mean, of course, you can have a boat or a submarine that it can float anywhere it wants. But then, that's not what we are talking about with it, because the space is filled. I mean, they are not really using waves as such as they should have. I mean, really how mathematics should have allowed it. Something which we want to understand about travel, interstellar travel, finding paths, finding how random higher dimensional fluids be explained, like something like dark matter, randomly creating a physics of stability, to even define, as far as I think, to define the beauty in evolution on Mother Earth. Through complex ways, of course, interaction between the star systems, galaxies, and especially for the solar system, kind of a very complex interaction which needs to be understood. So, well, to Neil deGrasse Tyson, I can give you a tip that this cognition. When I was at Institute of Social Studies, and I mean, of course, it is ISS, and International Space Station is ISS as well. But then when I went for a PhD, we had a new rector called Professor Luke de la Rive Box. Luke. I mean, I'm looking at the screen of this mobile phone, and Luke, kind of a devil's conceptualization. Human progress has a lot to do with not really adhering to the system, but then, of course, creating some kind of a system which has to be defined through equilibrium. It has to be context, and an expert can tell you that when you need to be following the system, or when you can find a deviation. While the deviation should always be a combination of systems where you are going to define yourself. For example, China is still considered to be a developing country, but then it is having a great trade relationship with the Western world and the modern world. But Pakistan is also having international trade. So you understand, economics is quite a complex phenomena to really understand systems theory. And then, of course, if I'm a great mathematician, I can write and publish a paper in an Econometrica or American Economic Review with a great mathematical model and then empirical analysis. While, of course, it will be a challenge that I have to find the data as well through some kind of a project being done in Pakistan, China, or Africa, or Latin America. That's what economics professors at Harvard or other Ivy League universities would do, actually, with certain fundamentals when they want to really define a really more broader definition of economic progress. Yes, of course, if you are in your analysis, there is a technology firm, and then, of course, some cultural aspects, and the whole analysis is being constructed at the basic level with the correct foundations of economics, which is, of course, about monetary progress, monetary prosperity, financial markets, and their representation in the economic system. Would be a very good mainstream economics paper. Now, look in our language is how you make roads. Imagine in one of my books I would say that this aura, this which is represented in the latest Matrix movie, that colorful physics, which these auras which you only find in the North or South Pole, with a certain pattern, not really numbers. In the first Matrix movie, there were like computer digits coming up and down to really suggest that we are in a simulation. But now physics understands more, or the people who make these digital documentaries now understand more, or the movie who is making this new Matrix coming to the cinemas maybe next year, have contacted a great physics professor, like somebody who has guided to make the movie Interstellar. Good science, but then of course a lot of fiction. Again, a lot of fiction, which might not really interest scientific mind. But then yes, imagine I have told the story that why would humanity be interested in large pieces of clothing? That an idea could come from something which is similar, that the threads, colorful threads coming down to earth represents through some kind of a quantum application of classical physics, and I've written about it. So similarly, it is a human cognition, and maybe some people have experienced it. Some people have seen lights coming down from high skies, and what they would do to represent the best of aesthetic sense, and then science as well. Hundreds of years ago, what they are going to do is they will say, oh, maybe these are some kind of a colorful clothing if I can represent it through material. So that's how maybe fashion started. Who knows? Like Star Talk, who knows, really? There are so many possibilities. And similarly, look is how material for the roads are built by heating them, which is representing coal and other materials, cement and coal. And then there is a long path Uh, Even in the deserts of Sahara deserts, you will build a long road. That's how the path should represent a path, a portal, which could represent mastering of physics and mathematics of dark matter, a stability horizon within dark matter, which should provide you a path, as if you have transformed an ocean into sea, and then it's into a river. Imagine that, glaciers. It's a lot of, I can build up so many ideas, but then of course, how to really understand it? Of course, it's mathematics. It's more complex mathematics. It's higher dimensional, complex mathematics. And by the way, I've written already, after watching a lot of YouTube videos, that physics really don't understand what water is. We cannot really recreate water. Maybe the water was available in some Chinese movie, on the moon, and it replicates it, but now it has redefined its properties. Water is liquid, ice is solid, and water can be evaporated and form clouds and thus represent through the properties of gas. Now imagine that it's just like a flowing fluid. Represents indeed not only very simple mathematics and physics and chemistry and biology even, the circulation, flow of fluids, have so many representations. What it represents is movement. And then dark matter should be represented not only through Newtonian laws of movement, but then to really be able to travel from one point to another, which means you're going to a certain direction where you can say you're moving forward. And then it will be representing theory of relativity, Einstein's theory of relativity, because of course a portal, a path through the stability horizon of dark matter would really be meaningful when you want to travel and make an interstellar travel. Of course, set of information or light can be guided, and I think by now it must have been done or experimented by, for example, many of the satellites, if not Voyager, then some other satellites, to really understand the quantum properties of light as well. It's it's a flow. Light, what is light? Is it liquid? Is it solid? What is it? It acts like a wave, so it might be fluid. That's what it means, movement. Through fluid, what we mean is, biological evolution represents in amazing ways. I can walk anywhere I want to. That the CN is being done with my cognition, and it represents a lot of chemical reactions, while neurons will be charged up, and I'm moving, I'm fluid. But the most, this crude formula, of water, a thick liquid, would also be behaving and moving. We're moving to a certain direction. That's what rivers do. Glaciers even move. So really, it's all about movement. Liquid, inherently fluid, inherently represents movement. Trees cannot move by themselves. Mountains can move by themselves, no. But then they can represent some kind of a seismic activity, which will allow a change of a landscape, of a continent, or a certain place in the world. So that's what it is. Now you will understand why a really great mathematician would be invited in Neil deGrasse Tyson's Star Talk, and then he will simply say, after talking about problems which cannot even be explained. Now, the problems, even explaining the problem is the problem, So what about the solution? Is so complex. Maybe, asking another problematic question would maybe really solve it to some extent. And in an economist's view, we do it all the time, because as our friend, the other guy, would say that, maybe marriage. Great. It's human behavior. Social scientists know about it. It's a relationship which matters in economics and household economics. So economics really, interactions, my friend, interactions. You want to understand something, it's really difficult to really combine quantum physics with classical physics, but then interactions would